I do hope you guys actually enjoy this because Scrappy did tell me to go out of my way to find something, and
It's cool.
I
I mean,
yeah.
I don't know. Once again, I only know Love Live is that one show with the Silva Gunner Reddit bitch.
Oh dear.
Okay, it's live
And
now.
that and that, children, is what we call a segue or a prelude. Hello, everyone. Today's episode of Scrappy. Wait, what am I trying to say? Hi, kids. This is Storytime with Scrappy, episode 6. I can't count. Hi. Our
Doesn't
episode is
matter
brought to you.
anymore.
Our episode is brought to you today by Dollar Shave Club. Dollar Shave Club,
Oh my
because you're
God.
locked up in your house.
Please sponsor us, Dollar Shave Club. We would greatly appreciate that, actually.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Once again, we have our recurring contributors. Harry, who is playing a game he's playing Donkey Kong as it's his form of torture.
Yeah. And I've been putting this off for a while, but yeah, I'm still here.
Against all of his better judgment. And speaking of being against better judgment, we also have Tanner and Nova with us today.
That's my intro.
Thank you, Tanner.
Good.
Say hi to the kids, Nova.
Say hi to the kids, Nova.
Thank you.
We have jokes on here.
Yep. Jokes, and I don't want to do this, Harry.
Yeah, no. Harry, we're reading Love Live live.
Yo, what's up? We're leaving a fanfic for a Lolicon anime.
Yeah, we're
Oh,
reading.
God,
Yo,
help
what's up? We're reading a fanfic from that one bitch on Reddit in the Silva Gunner videos.
Oh my God.
That's all.
Yeah.
So
That's all.
yeah, I don't I don't I mean I don't know if
That's
you
all
would
I
do-
know is that, and I think it's the Reddit crowd that directly turned me off from it, more than anything.
I have no experience with this, and I'm sorry that it happened, but I actually don't have any context for this.
Nah, I think it'll. Honestly, I might like it.
Well, to provide some, since half of our cast today doesn't actually really know with the series, let me provide some context. Love Live is a multimedia idol franchise,
Mm-hmm.
and I haven't played any of the games or read the light novels or manga, so
Oh, I haven't
my...
read you've seen all the anime, and that's basically what my experience with it has been for a long time. The mobile games are like pretty much just considered what's that, like that kind of icing on the cake kind of thing. Like it's like bonus material. You don't really need it, but it's there.
Alright then, well, Love Live is a multimedia franchise, and it's about basically a bunch of cutesy anime girls who are school idols. That is the conceit, that's the thing.
That actually sounds kind of fun. Honestly, people make fun of me, but I like cute shit. I like cute shit.
Oh, Love Life gives you that in spades.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm down. As long as it's well-made cute shit, I don't mind.
I know some.
I watched Friendship is Magic from season 4 onwards. I have no shame or dignity anymore.
Considering the kind of show it is, I do believe it has a lot of heart put into it.
All right.
Yeah, the conceit of the original series is basically a group of 9 cutesy people decide to form a school idol group to save their school from getting shut down. That's basically it.
That's what you need to do from the outset, yeah.
Yeah. Alright, I'm down with that.
And apparently people compare it to K-On!, which I haven't seen, so I cannot
Is
confirm or deny.
I've
I actually have seen a little of K-On! And I like K-On!
yeah, K-On! Is pretty similar because I've seen both shows. Though to be fair, I haven't seen K-On! In years, so my view is a little bit skewed at the moment. But it is fairly similar in a lot of ways.
Well, then I will make my statement as such. K-On! And Love Live are likely the progenitors of the modern cute girls doing cute things kind of show that dominated anime in the last 10 years.
Fuck yeah. And there's nothing wrong with that. I don't find anything wrong with that.
If the show is yeah, if the product is good, then I don't really have any issue with that
Yeah.
either.
Yeah, I mean,
Alright.
I like the moe stuff. I mean, I think you could argue that like, Kyoto Animation stuff probably pioneered that type of genre, but
No, I like that. Look, ever since I've been locked up in my house, I have been blasting Caramel Dancing on the daily. And that has been an experience because now I'm a fan of against my will, and I can't tell if it's ironic anymore. I have become a fan of both of the groups associated with it. Caramel and its offshoot Caramella Girls.
oh man.
And I know too much about it, and I am cursed with this knowledge.
Yeah.
Well,
If-
thank you for sharing, Tanner.
If there's something I'll say is that I won't necessarily be surprised if you don't like it, but it's definitely one of those shows that's like there are things that happen in it that will probably make like others cringe with all the overly cutesy stuff that goes on. So it's definitely not for everyone.
No, I get that.
Now, to lead into the story. Sorry, what were you saying?
No, it's fine.
Okay. Now to lead into the story itself, Love Live, the original series, which is just called Idol Project, had 2 seasons and a movie. Unlike several anime series, the movie is actually important to the television series.
Yeah.
And,
You were cutting out. You were
cutting.
yeah, you're cutting out significantly.
Well, hi guys, welcome to the Scrappy and Friends show. Welcome to Story Time with Scrappy, everyone.
every time. Tra la 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 la.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone.
Oh.
Love Live, the first series, got 2 seasons and a movie. Important, that actually provides a resolution to the series. And spoilers from here on out, you have been warned. In the movie, the group served as Muse broke up because the 3 eldest members went on to they went on to college. Or how old are they again?
The seniors basically graduated high school, so they couldn't be the same group anymore.
Yeah. The benefits of being a school idol group is that you're insulated from most of the horrific bullcrap of the idol industry.
Yeah.
Cons, graduate. When you age out, you are basically a goner.
Yeah.
Our story, which is called Till We Make Our Ascent, takes place several years after the conclusion of the original series. It seems most, if not all, of the members of Muse are college age now, so that's kind of there's our prelude.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
Yes, Till We Make Our Ascent by the author Ottermelon.
Yeah, so if you're ready to start the story, am I free to mute my mic now?
You are free to torment yourself with Donkey Kong Country to your heart's content, Harry.
Fair enough.
Oh yeah.
Let's do this.
Summary. One winter night, 3 years removed from her glory days, Umi's writing muse returns to her. This unexpected rush of inspiration spurs her to dig up old phone contacts, write a song she never thought she would write, and hopefully tie up her only loose end from back then. Chapter 1: The Moments in Between. She sees a place that she's never been. All that she knows is that it's a beautiful, vibrant place, and she wants so desperately to stay. But the details elude her. She can only guess that it's filled with the colors of spring, a warm breeze telling her that the harsh bite of winter is still so far away. She knows that it's all just a dream, and that she will be unable to recall it clearly when she wakes up. She probably hadn't been thinking straight last night. She knew she had been tossing in her sleep recently, so why did she leave her window open again? It was quite the rude awakening. Before she could even open her eyes, she felt chills nipping at her bare skin, and all traces of her grogginess vanished. Umi flinched at the rush of cold, her eyes shooting open. She took a moment to scold herself mentally for her restlessness. Although it was actually quite impressive, her blankets had mashed on the floor. Her long sleeve, her
Whoa,
long
okay, that last sentence was like completely screwed up.
Umi flinched at the rush of cold, her eyes shooting open. She took a moment to scold herself mentally for her and on the floor.
Oh, Scrappy?
Uh,
You're,
You know what this is gonna make? A good episode.
yeah, you're cutting out.
This is the start of a great episode, everyone.
she sells she sells seashells by the seashore. Is that clear?
Okay, it seems fine for
A
now.
little.
See, it should be okay.
Oh gosh. Umi flinched at the rush of cold, her eyes shooting open. Is that clear?
Yeah, that was good. That was good.
She took She took a moment to scold herself mentally for her restlessness. Although it was although it was actually quite impressive that her blankets had managed to end up on the floor. Her long-sleeved pajama for Pete's sake. Her long-sleeved pajama shirt, black with a white bird pattern, ultimately failed its purpose as the morning chill snaked its way up her sleeves. She chuckled humorlessly as years of warnings about sleeping incorrectly, from friends and family alike, flitted through her mind. It was a miracle that she hadn't caught a cold yet. Fully awake, she sat up, dark blue hair cascading down her back. She swung her leg over the side of the bed, her arms ached for a long
Wow.
stretch. Her
Oh, I think that was my connection.
She swung her legs over the side of the bed and her arms ached for a long stretch. She had to take care of a more annoying matter first. In a few quick strides, she drew her window curtain open. Her eyes wandered over her now familiar overlook of the university campus, unappealing as it was, before her stiff fingers slammed the window shut. Finally, finally safe from the bitter cold outside, the girl let out a sigh that she didn't know she held. She rubbed her numbed hands together. A quiet had overtaken her. A quiet had overtaken her room after those hectic moments, and she closed her eyes, trying to savor it as best as she beep 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 beep.
I like that she has 2 alarm clocks.
I have 2 alarm clocks.
I like they actually no, I've set multiple alarms for different times of the day because sometimes I'll wake up but not really be awake. So I have backup alarms and my family calls me a psychopath for it.
Oh, dear. Umi shot a few inches into the air at the piercing sound, a noise less than a shriek but more than a yelp escaping her. She flushed immediately, even though there was no one around, and glared at her alarm clock. The fact that she was already awake made her feel somewhat ashamed in forgetting to turn it off, and she vented her disappointment by yanking its cord from the socket instead of turning it off the normal way.
Charming.
Ag- Agitated by her multiple failures from last night and this morning, the girl stood in front of the mirror, holding bunches of unruly blue hair in both of her hands. She collecting to tie it up before going to bed last night. Reaching for a brush, she tugged the bristles through her unyielding hair, wincing every time the brush forced its way through tangles and knots. Okay. Shorter hair would be much easier to take care of. Her voice, still slightly raspy with the echoes of sleep, passed her lips and escaped into the confines of the bathroom. She frowned at her folly, alone in her apartment. Talking to herself was excusable, but doing so in the middle of class or while sitting at a table in the school cafe only earned her strange glances from her fellow students and even some of the campus staff. It was a new habit that she was not proud of, and it, coupled with her persistent shyness, led her to believe that people who said, you'll make your best friends in college," were either social butterflies or compulsive liars. Umi returned her focus to the mirror and realized that she had finished straightening out her hair while reflecting on her own shortcomings. She really had to stop spacing out so often, is what she always told herself. But 2 years of this had done little to show that she was really improving. Setting her brush back on the sink, she remembered that such despondent thoughts needed to wait until later, or else she would be late for class. Her morning routine left her a few minutes to spare before the walk to class, so Umi took that time to gather up last night's discarded blankets, laying them out neatly before taking a seat on the bedside. She glanced at her alarm clock to double check, before she remembered that it was unplugged from her earlier raid. Instead of getting up to plug it back in, she reached for her smartphone, face down and silent next to the alarm clock. As she grabbed hold of it, her attention was drawn to the third item on her nightstand, an unassuming notepad with a plastic tan cover. Her original, oh gosh, her original purpose forgotten, she absently put the phone in her pants pocket before reaching for the little booklet. She couldn't explain why, but as she did so, her thoughts took her back to last night's dream. Why couldn't she ever remember? Her dreams were always the same, or at least she thought they were always the same, because she could only remember the same details from all of them. The colors, the sensations, and the feeling were always the same. But such a vague set of details, or lack thereof, didn't give her much to work with. Umi grimaced, steeling herself as her fingers pried open the notepad. It eased open to the first entry, having done so countless times before. Of course, the same trivial words were there to greet her, scrawled in a haze of excitement and half sleep. Green garden, summer crossed out, warm breeze, bright question mark. The girl sighed. The words didn't stare any. The words. The words didn't stir any memories in her or lead to any sudden moments of recollection. She didn't have anything else to add to them either. I guess I have to admit defeat, she muttered, tossing the note back, tossing the notebook back onto the nightstand. to leave now to make it to class on time anyway. She took her coat and scarf off of the coat rack next to the door, throwing them on in succession. Taking a moment to gather herself, she stepped out to meet the cold, her thoughts tinged with green. 8:00 a.m. Romantic poetry. Class size, somewhere in the 200s. Oh man, I am so glad I went to a small college. Umi didn't know which of the three facts about her earliest class made her head throb the most, but at the very least, none of them seemed pleasant as she entered the lecture hall. With 10 minutes left before the class officially started, she had planned on arriving 10 minutes early to secure a seat with minimal trouble. Looking around, she was satisfied to see that the class was far from full. With the students already present either looking over the previous classes or chatting to pass the time. She searched for a good seat briefly before picking one near the back of the class. After pulling out her notes, still open to the most recently written page, she started to review last Friday's lecture. However, it didn't take her long to realize that Friday's class had been an unproductive one. She rubbed her cheek as she flipped back a page, her fears slowly coming into focus. These aren't going to help me at all.
I don't know who's supposed to be speaking here.
So who's gonna say the line?
I think this is the first. I think this is the first OC of the
Wait, what's
story.
Is this me?
wait? What's the line?
Slacking off in class again,
Okay.
etc.
Is that
Okay,
me?
that's an OC. You can make up whatever voice you want for that.
Is it me?
It's
It can be you if you want.
it's a female character for the record.
Or is it a guy, a girl? Because I know I was cast as one character.
It's a female. That's
Oh.
that's all you really
Alright.
need to know. Other than that, you make up whatever you want.
Alright.
These aren't going to help me at all.
Slacking off in class again, Sodana-san? San? Sorry.
Umi jumped at the sudden voice in her ear, whipping her head around to see a grinning face that she was becoming all too familiar with. Marika-san! Why must you sneak up on me like that? Oh gosh. Umi protested, her indignance only rising as the other girl snickered.
Sorry.
Even though her persisting grin indicated otherwise, Marika waved off her actions with an apologetic hand.
You really have to be more careful, you know. What if I wanted to prank you? You're wide open when you're spacing out like that.
She shook her head in mock disapproval, and her short black bob bounced with the motion, a hairstyle that she had worn ever since Umi had become acquainted with her. Unintentionally, Marika's words led Umi to think of her old friends, who definitely would prank her if she had her guard down, especially Nozomi. She pushed the memories back down. I wasn't spacing out, I was studying. She gestured to her open notebook.
What could you get out of studying that?
In a blatant invasion of personal space, the black-haired girl leaned over Umi's shoulder, brown eyes scrutinizing her note, if they could even be considered proper note. Much to her dismay, Marika let out a low whistle after a few moments.
Wow, looks like you didn't even go to class last week. Looks like you just looked up the lectures online and wrote down whatever you could find.
Umi glowered at her and opened her mouth to respond, but the other girl wasn't finished yet. When Marika turned to look at her, her grin had returned.
Too busy writing lyrics again. Huh.
Hey! Umi's voice lowered to a whisper, albeit a fierce one, and her hand reached out to grip her classmate's shoulder. Easing the other girl off of her, she looked around furtively before continuing. You said you wouldn't mention that in public.
It's fine, it's fine.
Marika finally took her seat, having been denied access to Umi's notebook, but she didn't drop the subject.
If no one else in here has recognized you yet, they never will.
She winked, flashing the shoulder strap of her bag at Umi to reveal its only accessory, a muse button, complete with all 9 members bunched into one excuse me, I got hiccups. Complete with all 9 members bunched into one picture, each one of them smiling broadly. Umi took her eyes off of the button for a moment to glare at Marika. Still, if you say things like that too loudly, people will get curious.
I guess you're right. I guess you're right.
Marika sounded surprised, as if this was some sort of revelation. Umi nodded. You know I don't want the extra attention. The black-haired girl sighed.
I don't know. I think it'd be pretty awesome to have everyone on campus recognize me.
Glancing over to see Umi's glare, she rubbed the back of her head and hurriedly changed the subject.
Did you finish that rough draft analysis of the Keats anthology that's due today?
Inwardly, Umi was relieved that her classmate had finally dropped the matter, but she hid it by reaching for her bag, where said analysis lay amongst her countless other papers. I did, but I don't think I put enough thought into it,
Oh, I bet it's fine.
Marika hummed, more to herself than to Umi as she took the paper. While Marika looked over her paper, silence finally settled between the two girls. With nothing else to do, Umi's eyes wandered back to the button on Marika's bag. Her own face, 3 years younger but still much the same, beamed back at her, along with the 8 other girls she had considered her dearest friend. Happy as the depiction was, staring at it only dredged up unpleasant memories towards the unraveling of Muse and what happened after that. Umi shook her head lightly and forced her thoughts elsewhere, a more recent time when she met the girl sitting next to her. Oh boy, it's a flashback. Umi hadn't expecting. Umi hadn't been.
Hadn't been. It should be hadn't been.
Yeah. Umi hadn't been expecting anyone to recognize her upon entering college. She was going on her second year away from Muse, and the people who recognized her on the street were only decreasing with time. She had been on campus for about a month, and she hadn't seen any knowing glances sent her way or whispers quiet as a jet engine behind her back. Then she had been sitting alone in her first college writing class when something shiny slid onto her paper. It was that same Muse button. Her eyes widened in surprise, and she whirled around in her seat to meet a tall girl sporting a wide grin.
So, it really is you.
The girl spoke first. You know me? Umi hadn't prepared to be recognized. In hindsight, that wasn't her smartest idea.
Oh, I'm a fan. I'd be ashamed not to know the one and only lyricist of the U's.
It's Muse.
Muse! The uses! Look, I'm a big fan of uses.
She reached over Umi's portion of the desk to take her button back, fastening it back onto her bag strap.
I don't know how I messed that up when you've been pronouncing it the entire time. I don't know how I did that.
It's fine. She reached over Umi's portion of the desk to take her button back, fastening it back onto her bag strap.
I thought you girls would go so far after you won Love Live that year, but I guess life catches up to you, huh?
Umi must have looked shocked at the casual mention of their disbanding, because the other girl reddened. I can't pronounce that. Turned red.
Oh, I'm sorry. That was really insensitive of me.
She looked away sheepishly, scratching her short black hair.
I said all that, and I haven't properly introduced myself. The name's Marika.
She stated proudly, extending a hand.
Everyone calls me that. You need to act formal around me.
Umi took the hand in hers, and Umi took the hand in hers, and the girl shook. I'm Sonada. Oh, for Pete's sake, I'm Sonada Umi. But it seems you already knew that. Marika not. For Pete's sake. Marika nodded. Her grin had returned.
I can't believe I actually got to shake the hand of an idol.
She cheered, more to herself than to Umi. The idol in question, however, did not take. Wait. The idol in question, however, did take issue with her celebration. Marika-san! She hissed, rising out of her seat. Not so loud!
Why? You're an idol! Or you were, anyway.
She corrected herself. Well, yes, but no one here knows that. Umi
Really?
sighed.
Really?
Umi sighed. Umi sighed, sitting back down.
I'm sorry, I cut you off.
It's fine.
Really? Really?
Marika surveyed the class.
I guess that explains why you're always alone.
Those words would have stung if they weren't true. Dang.
Oh.
Yes, so could you please not mention this to anyone else?
Not even to my friends?
If one other person finds out, everyone will find out. Umi gave her a pointed look. She was surprised to see Marika's grin turn mischievous.
That's the great Sedona-san wants me to share a secret with her. That's not so bad either.
Umi wanted to roll her eyes, but she restrained herself. Is that an agreement?
Your secret's safe with me!
Marika emphasized her point with a hearty. Marika emphasized her point with a hearty slap on Umi's back. She jumped at the contact, more out of surprise than pain, and flashback. As it had turned out, keeping Marika silent about her former idol status was a better move than she had anticipated. The girl seemed to have friends in every department. Umi would see her across campus in the most surprising places, chatting with anyone from sports teams to sororities. With as wide of a circle that she had, it was a stroke of luck that she kept her word. Not one other person had approached Umi with the glittering, hungry eyes of a fan. On the other hand, her social butterfly status meant that she only had time for Umi inside the lecture hall. Outside the hall, she always excused herself immediately for group studies, club meetings, or whatever else she crammed into her busy schedule. Though she always invited her, Umi always declined. She knew she couldn't handle being surrounded by strangers all day, friendly as Marika insisted that they were. A paper floated back onto her portion of the desk, her paper. Umi picked it up, turning questioningly back to a hesitant Marika. The other girl leaned in close.
Alright, that's me again.
Is that me?
Oh, yeah. No, is that me? Is that Nova?
It's Tanner.
You should probably get that paper looked over by your TA.
She whispered. The blue-haired girl sighed. She had seen this coming. It didn't make her any less disappointed in herself, though. She closed her eyes and wondered when class would be over. Umi couldn't relax, not when a teacher's aide was burning a hole into her Keats analysis with his eye. Also, there are men in this universe.
Oh!
At Marika's urging, she had gone to her TA's office to get a second opinion. But now she was seriously starting to question that decision.
Alright. So, who's gonna play? Is it me or Nova?
Rock, paper, scissors for it.
Uh,
How?
I feel like it's only fair that Nova gets this one because I'm not sure there's going to be another character in this chapter.
We should have traded the roles because Nova's a better
Hmm?
girl than I am. Take that as you will. And I don't know. I could do a teacher, but honestly, if we want to keep the rules the same, we can. It doesn't really matter to me.
For consistency's sake, we can keep it as it
Uh-huh.
is for this chapter, and we can switch with the next chapter if characters pop up again. That won't confuse
Yeah,
our
alright.
audience
Anyway.
at all. Carry on, Nova.
Sonara-san? Okay. Sonara-san?
Her aide, Satoshi, adjusted his rounded glasses as he lowered her paper. Yes? Umi couldn't tell if he was trying to intimidate her or he was just building. Umi couldn't tell if he was trying to intimidate her or he was just building up to his big reveal that her paper was a steaming pile of garbage. He held that expression for a moment longer before letting out a sigh.
Sonara-san, how's college treating you? Are you having a hard time adjusting?
Umi tried her best to maintain a neutral expression, though she wondered why her aide suddenly had such an interest in her personal life. I'm fine, she replied. It's nothing too difficult or stressful. Satoshi nodded, handing back her paper. Umi took it, curious to why he hadn't offered any feedback yet.
That's good. That's good.
He nodded, almost absently.
I'm asking because it's related to what I have to say about your paper. Before you ask.
He chuckled after Umi flushed red, her thoughts now out in the open. The smile didn't last long, as his brow furrowed in thought.
Look, I'm sure you know what I'm about to tell you, so I don't take pleasure in it.
He folded his hands on his desk. He looked too professional. Umi nodded. Umi nodded, letting him continue.
I know you can write better than this. You know you can write better than this. I recognized your name when you signed up for this class. In all our meetings, one of the first year's TAs always talked about how one of her students had this gift for understanding poetry. She said that her student had such an amazing grasp on the poet's emotions, like she could feel those emotions the same way those poets did, exactly as they described it.
His voice rose steadily as he went on until he was practically shouting, filling up the otherwise empty room. Clearing his throat, Satoshi continued. Oh gosh. Clearing his throat, Satoshi continued with a more calm demeanor.
Did you ever receive feedback of that nature, Sonata-san?
Umi nodded, although a frown creased her face. I never understood what she meant by that exactly.
But you get the idea, right? You have a talent, Sonata-san.
Satoshi answered his own question. Satoshi answered his own question.
People like you who have such a firm grasp on the emotions that lay within an arrangement of words, especially in the intricate art and form of poetry, can go on to achieve great things. Maybe students will read about you in a textbook years from now.
But I don't want to be read about in a textbook.
That
That
sounds
sounds like a
lonely.
lonely... Pardon, yeah, I was gonna... That sounds like a lonely path to take. Umi pictured the scenario in her head for a second, indulging her senior's vision. Oh, for Pete's sake, indulging her senior's visions of grandeur. Satoshi nodded gravely.
Yes, but to be forever misunderstood is the price a great writer must pay.
Luckily, he seemed to remember the reason Umi had come to him in that very moment, because he hurriedly gestured towards her paper.
Right, your analysis. It's just not something that a great writer would produce.
At this, he produced a notepad and paper from one of his for Pete's a notepad and paper from one of his desk drawers.
It's adequate if you just like a passing grade for this class, but it's far too rudimentary for anything beyond that.
He motioned at her paper, and Umi realized after a moment that he wanted her to open it up. She complied, and and only then did Satoshi continue, while he scribbled down characters on his notepad.
We know that Keats loved to write about death. You don't have to mention that in every other sentence. That's high school stuff.
Apparently, he was done writing since he ripped the note off of its pad. He offered it to Umi, who accepted it.
Like I just said, you have to tap into what the author was thinking when he wrote this. I know people love to say that there's no wrong interpretation for a writing piece. At this,
At this, he rolled his eyes, an exaggerated gesture that made Umi want to roll hers.
but I believe some are more right than others.
This is hitting way too close for home. This is hitting way too close to home for me.
You know, I've had my writer instinct immediately wanted to pop in with my own view on that on like Death of the Author. Like, I immediately was like, you see, I didn't want to interrupt the flow, but there was just that part of me that's like, what do you say about this?
Oh, this is a long chapter. My tongue's a little dry.
A lot of it depends on. Okay, I won't go, but I do have things to say about that.
Yeah, stick a pin in that thought because I want to hear I want to hear your thoughts. I want to hear this also, but I want to hear both.
Yeah. I get you.
Let's see. His pen jabbed at the blue-haired girl as he spoke. What a lovely TA.
And I believe that you can figure out what lies past all Keats' talk about death, Sonata-san. The more right answer waits for you. You just have to try a little harder. I listed more feedback for you on the note you're holding. Please do consider it as you write your final draft.
Sensing that her aide's lecture was over, Umi stood up stiffly. Thank you very much. After a swift bow, she turned for the exit. She didn't want to stay in that She didn't want to stay in that suffocating office for a moment longer. She didn't waste a second. After the door to the office closed, she let out a long sigh. Her hand instinctively went to her forehead as she tried to put some distance between herself and that draining feedback session. A quick glance up at the oh my gosh. A quick glance up at the darkening sky told her that she had spent too long in there, just as she had feared. Umi tried not to think about it as she oh my gosh. Umi tried not to think about it as she began the long walk back to her room. But keeping her train of thought from barreling down that path never worked. Admittedly, he had unmatched passion for the art of poetry, as he called it, and his enthusiasm could be infectious. On the good days, on the bad ones, well, Umi shuddered, suppressing memories of hours in Satoshi's office as he rambled on and on about the benefits, the unexplored possibilities, and the inside outs of their craft. The longer his lectures dragged on, the longer his sentences and the more expansive his vocabulary got. It was a small miracle as to how he never managed to run out of breath, unlike me. She bumped into another student, who shot Umi a look as she mumbled an apology. Hopefully that didn't mean she had been talking to herself again. Under normal circumstances, Umi would have been grateful to have an aide as passionate as him, one who was so intent on helping her improve, in his roundabout way, if his lectures didn't always lead back to the same message.
You can write better than this. You have so much potential. Why aren't you trying harder?
I'm just imagining him whispering this right next to her while she's walking.
He's like intentionally doing the echo effects himself, and then like one of them is just something completely unrelated, like, do you want to go? Should I go to Chipotle later for lunch?
It took many different forms, but Umi always heard the same thing. She wasn't living up to her potential. She hated that word. She hated it because she was trying, and she knew that she could do better than she was. She wanted to say that she had used up all of her inspiration already, used it all 3 years ago to pursue a dream that she truly believed to be within reach. Back then, it certainly seemed within reach. Now, now she stood in front of the door to her apartment. Gods, when did I become so depressing? Her old self would have told her that there was a way out of this, and that the way out demanded hard work and a strong mind. Welcome to college, Umi.
Yeah, no. God, when did it become so depressing? This is what Reddit would call a mood. Hashtag me IRL. Help me.
But she had left her old self at home before she left for university. She only had one of those traits now. Her writing classes had failed to bring any sort of inspiration back thus far. Umi refused to consider what would happen if this was the norm from now on, since she already knew. I, I don't think that's going to come out well on playback. Let me reread that. Umi refused to consider what would happen if this was the norm from now on, since she already knew. She could already hear the voices swirling in her head, all echoing the same thing. What happened to her? Umi dug for the apartment keys in her bag. She could think about this inside, where it was, for Pete's sake, where it was warmer. I'm back. She murmured the words, soft so only she could hear them. As always, she opened the door. For Pete's sake. She opened the. As always, she opened the door to an empty apartment. She didn't mind the silence. It let her be alone with her thoughts. Although, she mused, too much time alone is probably unhealthy. Umi shrugged off the thought, falling onto her mattress. She sunk into the comforter. Oh, for Pete's sake. She sunk into the comforters, sighing with relief. It was almost dark outside, but a quick nap would energize and motivate her to write her final draft, she reasoned. Satoshi's lecture had taken a lot out of her anyway. Her eyes were already closing when she realized that she had yet to plug in her alarm clock from that morning's incident. By then, it was too late. Pete's sake. She swore that she could see green already in her last moments of consciousness. She bolted up. Pardon?
No, I thought it was my line because you paused.
There's a long ellipses and I'm out of breath.
It's cool.
She bolted out. Oh, for Pete's sake.
Just
She
for
bol-
if you need like any brace to drink or anything, it's fine.
Yeah. I think it's almost done, anyways.
If I'm not done with this chapter, it's gonna be done with me soon. She bolted up and out of her sleep, wide awake in a moment. I could have read that better, but okay. This was it. She remembered. She groped around in the dark, not unlike Nozomi groping her in her childhood. Her goal. That's terrible. That's awful. I'm sorry, author.
No, that was good. I don't mind that. Dude, I've written groping jokes into things I've made.
Oh, that is just terrible. She groped around in the dark, her golden eyes blinking rapidly to adjust to the darkness of her room. Finding purchase on her smartphone, she clicked the power on, only to shut her eyes at the sudden burst of light. The pain subsided after a moment, and she was able to crack her eyes open to a squint, enough to read the time in bright white text. 2:21 a.m. She still had more than 5 hours before class. Perfect. Umi leapt out of bed, swiping her notepad off of the nightstand. At her desk, she flicked on the lamp, flinching again at the light flooding her room, and sat on the bare wooden chair. With a satisfying click of her pen, she began to write. She had forgotten how it felt, how naturally the words came to her. A year of college writing A year of college writing classes had only left a bad taste in her mouth, regardless of the grades that she received. When she wrote lyrics, it seemed like she only had to touch her pen to the paper, and her hand moved of its own accord. She had tried and failed to do so enough times in the past that she was certain that her inspiration had left her. Could have picked a better time to return, Umi thought as she wrote, but she certainly wasn't complaining. When she lifted pen from paper, she felt drained, excited and nervous all at once. How long had it been since she started? Maybe she had maybe she had to get oh for Pete's sake. Maybe she had to get ready for class soon. 2:53 a.m. Oh, what to do now? Her mind still buzzed with metaphors and rhymes and unsung melody. There was no way she'd be there was no way she'd be able to sleep now. She stood up, her chair clattering from the sudden motion. The mad flurry of writing had left her fingers shaking with energy. She had to do something. Taking a few paces around her room, her eyes drifted over to her closed window. She threw it open, and a shudder ran down her body as the frigid night air rushed into her room, but she welcomed the feeling. Her thoughts slowed to a more reasonable clip, and Umi was able to see the first issue of her situation. Back then, back when she actively held songwriting duty, her friends were always eager to look over and critique her lyrics the next day. Here, though, no one even knew about that part of her. Umi, Umi felt the beginnings of discouragement seep into her before her eyes lit up. There was someone here who could help. Her smartphone still lay on her desk. She snatched it up, opening her contact list and breezing through the short list of names before finding the intended one, Nishikino Maki. She moved over to their text message history just to confirm that her memory was correct. Oh gosh. Nova, can you handle Maki's text?
Uh, sure. All right. Hey, Umi. I know it's been a while, but I'll be attending your college next year. Mama and Papa told me that you have a good bio program over there, so I tested for it and I got in. We probably won't see each other that much, but if you want to meet or get lunch or just talk, I'll be there. If I'm not too busy, of course.
That's great news. I hope to see you soon. Good luck. I love how Umi's grammar is perfect and Maki's is just a mess.
I like that because it coincides and indicates character. It coincides. Well, I haven't seen the show, but I imagine that coincides with their characters in some way.
Maki's
Yeah.
a bit of a tightwad like Umi, but not as much of a tightwad, so this is on brand.
All right. Yeah.
Umi's a lot more professional. Like, yeah.
No, I do that a lot. I like to throw in little visual details or ideas that indicate, okay, for instance, right now do you mind if I get all masturbatory about my own writing for a sec here?
It'll
Yeah,
probably
I'll
Mind
give
if I
give
my
jerk
Scrap.
mouth.
It'll
It'll give
probably.
me some time to rest.
Yeah.
you mind if I jerk myself off here for a bit? Well, actually, there's an audience for that on Twitch. So
And that's how Harry lost his sponsorship again.
no, but it is how you gain more subscribers. Think about that.
Oh gosh. Please proceed, Governor.
All right. I don't think I'd be trusted governing anything. Um, but for instance, with me, I have part of the plot point for part 2 of Mojo, which we did do an episode on. So if you want to watch that episode, go watch it. It's in Harry, put it in the link or something.
Wait, when did we do JoJo? What?
Mojo, the Deadpool story.
Oh,
Uh-huh.
okay. Okay.
For part 2, we have this idea of Deadpool getting crazy rich and stuff, and my mind has just been flowing through what the hell would someone like Deadpool own if he was crazy rich? And just what stupid shit would he spend money on? But I like doing things like that indicate character in some way. That and it's just fun. For instance, I thought of him owning a poster for a made-up movie called Wolverine v Sopranos: Dawn of Dawns.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. There actually is a comic where Wolverine fights the Sopranos. They never say it's the cast of the Sopranos because they can't legally, but they look like the dude looks like James Gandolfini, and it's clearly supposed to be the Sopranos.
Oh my gosh. That's great news. I hope to see you soon. Good luck. Reading over the timestamps, Umi realized that their conversation had been in March, more than 6 months ago. Her finger moved to press the call icon, and then she hesitated. Tentative as they were, their plans to meet up had fallen through. Tentative as they were, their plans to meet up had fallen through with nary a word mentioned from either party. When Maki mind her breaking the silence, especially with a request like this one. She pressed a call icon. She had to do something about this. She couldn't let her inspiration slip away just when it finally had found her again. Her her phone was on the second ring when she realized that she was. Her phone was on the second ring when she realized that she was calling at 3 in the morning. Some reason entered her adrenaline. Some reason entered her adrenaline-addled mind, and she wanted to slap herself for her lack of self-control. But there was no turning back at this point. She's a biology major. Maybe she's staying up late doing homework. Umi mused aloud. Homework or otherwise, she was ultimately greeted with an automated voice after the fourth ring. That was probably a good thing. She chastised herself for thinking. Oh gosh, she chastised herself for thinking that Maki or anyone expected a call at 3 in the morning. With her head finally on straight, Umi took another look at the Oh my gosh. With her head finally on straight, Umi took another look at the completed lyrics on her desk. It was less than 20 lines, less than a full page long, but it was a start, and it made her heart throb with happiness. She was ready to take it farther, to go through the process one more time, but it could wait another day or two to start, she supposed. Holy crap. The professor was in the middle of a lecture on Coleridge when Umi's phone went off. Luckily, she was sitting in the back as she always did, so she only had to endure the half-curious, half-judgmental stares from her classmates for a couple seconds before she made it outside. She ignored the chill of the outside air as her hand probed her pants pocket, fishing out her phone after a moment. She peered at the contact's name as it came into focus. Nishikino Maki. Her heart leapt and she hurried to press the answer part of her screen. Maki, what is it?
Tanner.
Nah, it's Nova.
Shit. I don't think I'm in the rest of this.
Maki,
No.
no, you're Maki Nova.
No, okay. Don't what is it me?
The familiar voice snapped back, and despite its bite, Umi had to smile.
Why did you call me at 3 in the morning? Has something happened to you?
Sorry. Umi flushed red upon hearing that her overzealousness had been taken the wrong way. I'm fine, it's just I was rather worked up last night, you see. She heard Maki sigh on the other end.
Worked up? About what?
Came the response. Umi looked back to the lecture hall, realizing she had left everything in there for Pete's sake. Realizing she had left everything in there in her rush to get out. It would be easier to explain herself if she was able to show Maki what she was working on, so I can show you. Are you free for lunch?
Eh? Today?
The other girl sounded surprised. Umi couldn't blame her. Yes, as soon as possible. I'll pay for you. Umi clenched her free hand into a fist, even though the show of determination was lost over the phone.
Okay, okay.
Maki relented.
I have a class that doesn't get out until 2:30, is all. I hope you don't mind waiting.
I can wait.
It's not that important, huh? Ah, I guess I'll see you later today.
The line went dead, cutting off Umi from getting anything else in edgewise. Umi didn't realize that she was smiling until she put her phone back in her coat pocket. Replaying a conversation with Maki over in her head, she pumped her fist in the air, giggling with happiness. Then she realized that she was still on a public campus. She glanced around, making sure no one had seen her little spectacle, and hurried back inside. Hopefully, everyone had forgotten about her earlier disruption. It's over, thank goodness. My tongue.
Oh,
Okay.
I I do have to use the bathroom and plug in my computer, but yeah.
By all means, we can take a break.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think we deserve a break after all
You
that.
know, I mean, are we doing the second chapter or
It's up
I
to
have no idea.
that's down to Scrappy.
Cause I think I might have to go.
Oh,
All right, then. Go to the bathroom, and then we can just have our final feedback for the night.
okay.
Yeah. Alright.
All right, my lungs hurt.
I told you there was gonna be a lot of talking from you here.
We're okay. I'll stay up.
Need water. There was the reason I made Tanner read his Deadpool story.
Yeah.
Yeah, you alright, man?
Yeah, I'm all right. I just need to catch my breath.
Fair enough.
Oh, I should have known this was an Umi story. Of course you'd pick that one. So, yeah, I guess we'll have several episodes of material with this alone.
Yeah,
Oh, gosh.
yeah, because this is a long one. It's the longest one we've done so far by a long shot. So when you
Even-
guys like have like have your moment to breathe, like any general thoughts so far or whatever.
This hits way too close to home and makes me not miss college.
Yeah.
Oh, hey. It's the one-syllable words that are the worst.
Yeah.
Oh dear. It did it.
You got
So, thoughts, Nova?
yeah. Yeah, I'm mostly interested in the Nova and Tanner in for current thoughts.
Oh, I am so sorry. I just.
If it
Well, well, it's hard to get a good feel for this. We only have one chapter to go off of. Very detailed.
fair enough, yeah. If it means anything, I believe the chapters after this have a lot more dialogue.
Oh, thank goodness.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's they got Umi's personality down, right?
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
It's just that she has very few established characters to bounce off of, so it's a bit difficult to gauge some things.
Hmm.
I can't. Every time hear the word Marika, I just think of the elder Mari from Love Live Sunshine.
Yeah. That group is not mentioned at all in this story, as far as I've read. So they probably don't exist yet at the time of like the timeline. So
Yeah, it's like 3 years after after the group dissolved, so yeah, they haven't formed yet. The Aqua, the other group hasn't formed yet, and
yeah,
when this story was getting published, saw Love Live Sunshine hadn't even finished.
yeah.
Don't ask me how I know this. Blame Harry.
Oh god. I try. So how would you say how has the story gripped you so far? Like how would you say that how would you give the first chapter as like an intro kind of rating?
It serves as as a good word primer for what Umi's life is post Muse.
Yeah, yeah, I'd agree with that.
Definitely emulates the crippling loneliness of college life rather
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
I'm surprised. I'm surprised she just has an apartment by herself.
Oh yeah. Oh my god.
Oh dear. I mean, maybe because I'm probably speaking from a position of bias because I had to read all this aloud.
Huh.
Maybe pace it a bit faster.
I can understand that.
But I will. It's yeah, I grade on a curve because they had to lay out the groundwork for the new status quo.
Yeah, so you kind of have to like slow down a little bit, I suppose. I can get what you mean though. There is the author did put like a lot of added detail in like descriptions and whatnot. Oh god.
Oh gosh.
Shouldn't have gone that far.
Any thoughts, Nova? I'm guessing Nova left.
I do have thoughts. Let me plug in my computer.
Okay.
All right.
Um,
Ah. Okay.
um, all right. So, my thoughts are that for me not knowing much, I generally understood what was going on
That's good.
and generally enjoyed it.
Okay.
Um, I was Umi in particular. I was very invested in. I don't know how she is canonically, but I was very invested in her here and found her mostly her struggles with writing and her struggles in college very relatable.
Yeah.
I connected with that. So I can imagine this. I imagine it's more appealing to someone who is familiar with the series.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'll give you that. But it's definitely, uh, I mean, since this series is made for stories that we think are legitimately good, I did try and go out my way to find something that I thought was well written, and just reading through the story for myself the first time, um, I was actually surprised how well done it was. So, um, you know,
Yeah, and even though I don't know much about it, I was I don't know how much of this is reflective of canon, but at least here I got a good feel for what these characters and their personalities were.
I'd say it's pretty spot on overall.
Yeah, basically, yeah, and that's those are my thoughts.
Yeah.
I'm out of 10. Uh,
You're just every podcast host I've ever seen. No, here's what every podcast host does. I've noticed people on podcasts laugh at.
They
Why did
laugh.
Dad have to call me while I was making fun of amateur? What the fuck? You have to do that? Okay. Stop.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Well, come down.
Let's see if I
The
have enough.
second I was making fun of amateur podcasts, my dad screams at me to come downstairs.
How dare you mock them?
Yeah, he's mad about it. I'll have you know, I have listened to every episode of Nerd Talk. I just made that name up.
Oh god.
Sounds
I'm
like
sure I'm sure someone has a podcast called Nerd Talk somewhere.
Probably.
No, because
Let's see.
especially around like the early 2010s, when nerd culture was like a big thing.
Oh yeah.
Well, I guess it still is, but we've realized how that it is kind of cringy to make it your entire personality, if that makes any sense.
Right.
Um,
So you have enough time to beat this boss before you stop? Probably not.
all I gotta say is that, yeah, no, I was really into it. I was about to provide my own thoughts on Death of the Author, because I feel that interpretation is true in certain cases, but in others it isn't. But I always say that, yeah, no, fans should have some level of interpretation, especially things
Yeah.
that are intentionally left ambiguous.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Like, the ending of Pulp Fiction runs on death of the author.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're supposed to come up with your own interpretation. Or for a more nerdy, video gamey, epic gameroony example, the Megas, the other Mega Man band, not the Protoman. He has two of those, which makes sense because he got some badass music.
Yeah.
Um, they leave a lot of open interpretation for their songs and their lyrics. Like some things are clearly defined,
Oh, I don't
but
give me a lot of time.
like there's one song called Gemini that
Yeah.
Gemini EYE because it's a pun. It's like a noir thing.
Mm.
And it ends with a gunshot, but we don't know who fired the gun or who was shot, and they intentionally. Actually, a better example. There's a song called "Make Your Choice," where it's left ambiguous whether it's Wily singing or if it's Mega Man and Proto Man singing at each other.
Hmm.
But I think like the ending of Pulp Fiction, or if it's characters like Sherlock Holmes, then because there's been so many different interpretations of Sherlock Holmes that have gone in so many different directions
Yeah.
that I feel, or Batman even. Batman's a great example. There's no two interpretations of Batman that are the same.
Yeah, that's fair.
I feel like that is, to an extent, I believe in Death of the Author, that a lot of people have different ways they can interpret something. The only time I'm really not okay with it is when either the creator says, no, that's not how it is, or if it's something that is directly contradictory to canon in some way.
Right.
Like, I guess, while I said there are many valid interpretations of Batman, you can't have him doing something he blatantly wouldn't do.
Right.
Like murdering the fucking shit out of people. I'm not referencing anything, by the way. Does that make sense what I'm saying at all?
No, I get you.
I'm sorry, I'm just too dead inside to provide an answer.
Nah. I gotta go
So-
anyways.
Alright.
Had a good time.
Well, thank you for that, Tanner. Any thoughts, Nova?
So you still AFK?
Uh,
Oh, hi.
anyway, for some reason I thought Tanner was taking a long time in the bathroom, so I was getting kind of worried that nobody was saying anything, but it turns out no, it was just my phone fucking up again.
Oh. It happens.
Sorry to hear that.
But anyway, just to make things quick, so you guys don't have to waste too much more time. I'd actually say this actually got me a little bit invested into it. Like even as someone who doesn't really care about Love Live, this was actually well written enough to where I'd actually would want to see where the story goes. I definitely like how to the author's best ability, they made a scenario where Umi can really be made relatable in various different ways, and I definitely see her struggle. It's definitely clear the more I read about it in the story. So I definitely say I had a good time.
Yeah, I'd agree with those sentiments. I think it's also impressive for like you guys, especially since you aren't into Love Live at all. I think it kind of speaks to its quality that it grabs you guys in regardless, and Yeah.
I concur. I just am. What's the word?
I I think was it us two a few days ago, Scrappy, where we talked about how um like people that do um people that read out stories and whatnot don't get enough credit because of all the talking they have to do.
Yeah, audiobook people,
Yeah, audiobook
and
people, yeah.
like narrators in general, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I at least had the benefit of having several people handling other dialogue. Thank you, everyone. I would literally be passed out without you. Yeah, I don't have any other feedback. This is a good story, at least based off chapter one, and we will continue it at some point in the future.
Yeah,
I just don't know. Pardon.
yeah, I was gonna ask, like, are we doing it next week or next 2 weeks? What are we doing?
I have no idea. Like,
Hmm.
there are 9 chapters currently written for the story, correct?
Yeah, 9 chapters. According to the website, the author plans 11, but God knows whenever he or she will end up finishing it.
Oh dear. I I had foolishly hoped in all my hubris that we would get through 2 chapters today, but
I did. I
that
hope.
was not.
I kind of hoped for that too, just for the fact that, um, now that the intro is out of the way, the story gets a lot. At least for me. I guess we'll see how you guys feel about it, but from this point on, I think it gets a lot more interesting. And
We had pardon, what were you saying?
oh no, I was gonna say like one other thing is that I've read like upwards to 7 or 6 chapters of the story already, so I know a lot of what already happens. So I'm gonna I'm gonna have to like kind of seal my lips for a lot of this.
We thank you for your spoiler courtesy. We technically had unforeseen circumstances because we had to record on an off day. This was
Mhm.
meant to be recorded on a Monday, not a Tuesday in my time zone.
Yeah, we might like it. I mean, we might have continued if this was Monday, if Scrappy could handle it, but yeah, circumstances kind of forced us to shorten this segment.
Yeah, but I have no endurance with this, so maybe one chapter was a blessing,
Maybe.
if possible. Dear, if possible, we may just like do the first 4 chapters of this and maybe prelude, have very short stories as a prologue for each episode.
There's also another idea that I had kind of had is maybe we could like try and have some people like alternate who does the narrator because um given how this one went, Scrappy did had to do most of the heavy lifting, and I feel like if we had someone else like maybe Tanner or Nova or whoever else is in at the time like take over for narration for I don't know a little while, not like the whole chapter or anything, but like just so like you get breaks.
I mean, if they're down for it, then yeah, I guess.
Yeah, we'll have to like figure out how to do that, but
So, yeah, I guess we continue with chapter 2 of this story in next episode, whenever that happens.
indeed.
Oh gosh.
This is probably gonna be my last attempt on this boss, so
Oh dear. If Tanner and Nova are available, then maybe we can record next week.
Yeah. I guess time will tell.
I am sorry, folks. I'm exhausted.
It's understandable. I'll try. I'll try my best to find a story that isn't so narration heavy next time.
Thank you.
Oh crap. Oh damn it. Oh, that could have been hurt. Ah, whatever. Yeah, okay, whatever. I guess I'll just stop her. So any closing words, or should I stop the stream now?
Happy belated Memorial Day to those in the United States, folks, and yeah, enjoy your week. Enjoy your week. Wash your hands. Hug your children. And remember, sign up for Dollar Shave Club.
Yep. And we'll see you guys in the next storytime episode, I suppose.
This is the beginning of the long filler arc. I guess this would be the opposite of filler because it's actually serialized and
I mean, yeah. If I'll be honest, I think this is probably the best thing we've read so far.
that is such that is I mean, I don't think
You what?
that is a
I mean, it's not the biggest achievement, but still, I genuinely do think this is a well written story.
Hello?
we're dead, Jason.
Okay, well, Jason here, I'm gonna end the stream. Okay, bye.
Wait, I need to use Phoenix Downs.